Are you ready to hoist the colors? Now, time for the most in-depth look at the world of ECU athletics. Welcome in to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Now, here's your host, Stephen Igo.
Welcome in to Hoist the Colors on a Victory Wednesday edition of the show. East Carolina basketball recording a huge win inside Minges Coliseum over UAB. We'll get to that and a whole lot more. We are live on YouTube, not live on X due to some last-minute changes just before the show. We'll try to get that figured out. We're trying to be live on Facebook. Philip Pilkington has been running into issues with that behind the scenes. Philip, welcome back to the show. Are we having any success with Facebook?
No, it's there's been issues with the title lately, and now there's just being issues with it starting. It says that our stream key's wrong, even though it's right. It did the same thing to Dom yesterday on Patrick's show. So, yeah, Facebook has been having a mind of its own, and if you're someone who owns Facebook or runs Facebook, I'm going to say this the nicest way possible. I hate you because we never have issues with YouTube, ever. And now Facebook all of a sudden just wants to be a piece of crap. So, yeah, to hell with you, Facebook.
So we'll keep trying to figure out Facebook. I do say, we do have our Facebook fans, but I would say the majority of our fan base is on YouTube regardless. We do have people that watch on X.
Hey, Facebook's up.
And Facebook is up.
Freaking time.
And so there's that. So if you are our Facebook audience, that is now up. If you're our YouTube audience, that's where I'm going to pay most attention to the chat. So today's show right now, we got Philip Pilkington and myself. We'll recap ECU basketball. We'll take a look at the final 6 games because right now, for me, a lot of this comes down to how ECU can set itself up for the conference tournament. We'll get into that as we go down the stretch run in February into March. We'll also talk our ECU baseball roster rundown. That will continue. We potentially are looking at getting new ECU baseball voice Dylan Johnson in studio over the course of the next hour. He's having a few meetings right now, I believe, with the ECU coaching staff, so we'll see if we can get him on before the end of the hour. If not, we'll try to get him on sometime tomorrow or later this week. So we'll talk baseball. We'll talk basketball. If you got a question, drop it in the chat. We'll get to that as well. Man, what a fun night in Minges Coliseum. And Philip, we kind of made the comparison that ECU basketball is like the toxic ex, and like the UTSA game for me was kind of like you get that late night text message from your ex, and you're ready to put her out of your mind, and it's just a little tease, But then last night, it's almost like going out to dinner, really rekindling those spirits, and really having a fun night, and it ending with a victory, a successful victory. UAB. A really good team. ECU finds a way to get one of its best wins of the year, and now I think I'm all the way back in to this relationship, Philip. I am ready to be hurt again.
Oh yeah, I'm in. Let's do it. Hey, you go on, and talent-wise, Darren and I were talking about it before the game. North Texas is like really, really well coached, and they seem to play a little better consistently than UAB. But from a ceiling standpoint, a true talent standpoint, UAB is the second best team in the conference. And, yeah, you didn't go out there and beat the heck out of them. But in the second half, you did. You put up 50 points in the second half. You had a sequence where there were 12 straight possessions with a lead change. And you pull away and win by 7 over a really good basketball team. The crowd numbers were not great, but I will say that the people that were there, it got rocking in that second half, as Minges always does when things are going well. This is one of the more ruckus crowds in college basketball. It just doesn't have the numbers, so it doesn't get the publicity it probably deserves. So more people need to show up, by the way. If you weren't there, show up next time. But anyways, yeah, like I said, last night was the date that went perfect. It ended with chocolates and roses, and it was like the perfect Valentine's Day date. It wasn't just like a, Taco Bell in a movie. It was like, a fine dining restaurant.
And just a phenomenal basketball game. You mentioned it, less than 4,000 in attendance, but you could feel the energy inside Minges Coliseum. Man, I feel like I'm reading one of those like noise meter ads. You can feel the energy in this place, like Morgan Ayler's always does. But you really could, man. UAB is an NCAA tournament team from last year. And usually you can kind of scoff at that and say, all right, well, this is the transfer portal era and teams are much different year to year. Well, they're the preseason favorite for a reason. They have their core back for the most part from last year. Yaxel Lindeborg, the preseason player of the year, is an NBA prospect. He scored 22 and 10 last night. Christian Coleman back as well with a double-double last night. Alejandro Vasquez, Tony. What a great name, by the way. Those four guys were part of the championship team last year, part of the tournament team. I think what did they play? San Diego State in the first round and almost won that game. I can't remember the exact matchup. But either way, this is a good team, and this is a good win for ECU. And look, I'm still frustrated by the North Alabama, the Gardner-Webb, the Rice game. The Rice game, and we'll talk more about this UAB game in a minute, Philip, but the Rice game is like you look at ECU basketball in this stretch. And since losing, I think it got up to 7 of 8 or something like that. Since that point, since ECU kind of turned it around with a win at Wichita State, over this 7-game stretch, I believe that's the number, 7 games, they've looked like I don't want to say great, but a very good basketball team at times. Outside of that Rice game, like even the Temple game, they dominated, should have won that. They've won every other game in this stretch. They just beat a good UAB team. And it's just that Rice game where you just scratch your head. If you could somehow not have laid an egg in that one, I think people would feel a lot better right now.
I think they would. You didn't only lay an egg, but you laid an egg at home.
And they got dominated.
Yeah. And I know that the home away from the diehard fan standpoint doesn't matter as much, but from the casual fan that attended the game, it mattered. I'm sure there are some people that went to the Rice game that saw the poor performance and then didn't show up last night as a result. Because just like in all walks of life, whether it be, or all walks of entertainment, I should say, there are casual fans of everything, and there's nothing wrong with being a casual fan of certain things. I'm a diehard sports fan, I'm a casual fan of other things, and when things aren't going good, the Rice game, that hurts. And, yeah, it was a head-scratching performance. Like, we were talking about it before the show. If you lose on a fluke play, kind of like you did to North Texas last year at home, maybe we have a little different taste in our mouth, but you've had one conference game now. You've played 12 of them. 11 of them have been decided by single digits. Well, what game wasn't? A 73-60 loss, or was it 83-70? It was one of those two. It's a 13-point loss at home to Rice. That's tough. Can't lose to Food, and Food's having a bad year this year. So, I don't know. But the good thing is, like you said, they've proven they can play with anybody. They look like a really good basketball team. It's that thing where you've got 2 stars, you've got a couple like better role players, like they're better than a role player, but they're not quite a star, like Jordan Riley, and then your 8-man rotation. So that's the other thing, is it's kind of been the same 8 guys that have played in that last 7-game stretch, and the minutes have been pretty consistent amongst those guys as to how many minutes they see a game. So it really seems like Coach Schwartz has found, hey, this is my rotation moving forward and down the stretch who he trusts. And
maybe that Rice game will turn out to just be a blip, and this is a team that is 100% trending in the right direction. To me, good win. I need to see this team go to Charlotte, which is having a very bad year, but this will be hostile territory, and win Saturday. That'll be just as impressive to me as beating UAB at home last night. So we'll get more into that in the coming days. But we'll get into the standings as well here in a second on our next segment, and just what this means for ECU potentially making a push towards the top half of the conference. Every time I bring that up, they lose. So we'll try to reverse that fortune this time. All right, some chat has started in the chat. Our Facebook chat popping today. John Moody says, big time tease last night. I don't know, John. I think they went all the way, man. That was one of the better games I've covered. Chance Scott is in the Facebook chat. He says, what's up, my guys? Chance, I thought you were a YouTube guy, but welcome to the Facebook chat. And then Kenny Curlins, also sometimes a YouTube guy. He's in the Facebook chat today. ECU basketball will drive you insane. Temple, great game, but don't finish. Then the Rice was just an unacceptable loss. Nice road game win against the Roadrunners, and then beat UAB, a good team. Lane Smith is in the YouTube chat. He wants us to talk baseball. Lane, stay tuned for that. Good question. We'll get to it. Let's dive more into the specifics of this game, Philip. I thought that yesterday, I made the statement, if ECU was going to win, they needed an R.J. Felton takeover game. And I wouldn't necessarily call this an R.J. Felton takeover game, but it was definitely a good R.J. Felton game. He goes 9 of 18 from the floor, 23 points, 7 rebounds, a couple of assists as well. I think in the second half, he shot a very high percentage. Yeah, 6 of 9 from the floor in the second half after going below 50% in the first half. So he had a good game. But I just, like the C.J. Walker thing, we talked about him yesterday, and we were like, is this best-case scenario C.J. Walker? And he was even better last night, 29 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, 0 turnovers in 37 minutes, got to the free throw line, and he was going against Lindeborg. He was going against Christian Coleman. Like, he was going against dudes, and that's why I thought R.J. was going to have a monster game, because I thought they would be able to slow C.J. Walker down, but they couldn't. And again, Cam Hayes played well, but when Walker and Felton both play well, you can beat anybody in this league.
One of the numbers that sticks out to me from last night is 15 assists on 30 made baskets. So it proves that we're distributing the ball well, which they've done pretty well this year. But what I loved was the ability to create shots. And there were so many times that CJ caught the ball at the elbow, drove in on one of those defenders you just mentioned, and made a contested layup. Or there was a time RJ would get the ball, and I'm like, kick it out for a 3, and he didn't. And he went 1-on-2, and he made a shot. There was a few times Cam Hayes took a few hard dribbles in and pulled up and created a shot. I know we're supposed to praise assists, and I want to praise distribution, but last night really looked like a team who can create shots for themselves. And the best teams in basketball, and this is how it's always been, are the ones that have the true athletes that can go out there, shoot off the dribble, drive in the lane against bigger defenders, contested layups, acrobatic finishes, and that's what this team did last night.
ECU matches UAB on the rebounding stat sheet, 29 apiece, which was a big number. We talked about that as well yesterday, Philip. UAB, I think, 6th nationally in offensive rebounding. ECU up there in the conference as well. Not sure where they rank nationally in offensive boards, but UAB had just 3 offensive rebounds in the second half. They were killing ECU with the second chance opportunities in the first half. Mike Schwartz said that was a very deliberate game plan thing in the second half to really limit that. And, you get solid play once again from Jordan Riley, who at times, I don't want to say has been forgotten about, but we focus so much on CJ lately and RJ. But Riley gets the steal. He gets his shorts ripped. He gets the free throws. And, this time ECU makes the free throws down the stretch, Philip, closing out a game. That has been an issue, was an issue at Temple. In certain losses this year, they have not made those free throws. So Jordan Riley ends up with 12 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. Just he had to, on that last steal, pick the pocket of Vasquez to seal the game. So, when you have that and when you get Cam Hayes contributing, like you said, you kind of know your rotation at this point, and you just need a little bit of help with the big 3, Walker, Riley, Felton. Cam gives it to you. Jan Farrell, we still need to get him going from three-point range. Sometimes it's Jay Shane Woodard. Reed Kaysen's been better lately off the bench. But I think if you can just get one more double-digit score to join the big 3, you're going to be in pretty good shape most nights.
I agree. And it doesn't have to be the same guy every night. I think you mentioned Jay and you mentioned Jan. And if you can get one of those guys to have 10 or 12, and it doesn't have to be the same guy, or you can have them both have 8, you're fine. If they can combine for 16 points between the two, whether it's 10 and 6, whether it's 14 and 4, or that wouldn't, yeah. Did I say? No, I said for 16 points. Whether it's 14 and 2, whatever it is, if they can combine for 16 points, and then you can get 15 out of Riley, that puts you at 31, and 20 out of the big 2. That now you're looking at 71 points, and then you're naturally going to hit a layup here or there from somebody else, and usually one of those guys is going to go slightly over 20. You're already talking about 80 points scored now. 80 points is going to win you most of the games in this league, so I think Jay Woodard, who can score, I think, in a plethora of ways. I cannot say that word. I should have not tried to use that word. Plethora. Yep, there you go. Thanks. He's a decent shooter. He can really create shots off the dribble. He's a really good mid-range pull-up guy. And then he's a pretty good athlete and can finish inside. He's not usually going to do it against a taller defender, but if you do get a spread-out ISO offense and he can kind of backdoor Princeton cut, that'll give him an opportunity to score there. And then, Jan, we know what he can be. We're just waiting to see it from downtown. He did finally hit one last night. But, if he can go out there and hit 2 threes a game and go 2 for 5 even from downtown, as well as a few other baskets, we'll be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, and I thought after he made his 3, which he had been in a slump, he started to be a lot more active on the glass and defensively, got a couple steals. So would like to see Jan play with that type of energy going forward and hopefully get his shot back. All right, Kenny Curlins adds a big key was hitting free throws at the end of the game to seal the win. How many games have come down to that this season? Definitely a huge – it almost seems like ECU's either elite at the line or bad. There's no in between, Philip. Have you noticed the same? Like, it's almost like a game-to-game deal. Like, they're either lights out or – especially in crunch time. They either make them all or they miss a bunch.
Yeah, I'm with you. Because you mentioned the Temple game was bad. There was another game at home.
Was it FAU?
I think it was FAU.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was about to say.
I'll check the stats.
It was bad. And other than that, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, 13 of 25 and a 2-point loss to FAU.
Yeah, and a lot of those were down the stretch. So, yeah, it seems like overall I would say this is a pretty good free throw shooting team. Look, you're going to have your bad nights, but I would say there was a question early last season, I remember, where it seems like, and Coach Schwartz kind of got tired of answering it, why can't we shoot free throws? If we fixed anything, it's the free throw shooting. I feel pretty confident in most of the guys at the charity stripe, and they could last night. And I remember talking to Parker Eason about it the other day. They used to have the thing that was free throws win games, and they'd do the 2 claps and the crossbones, and they asked the student section to stop doing it because it was putting too much pressure on the athletes, which is crap. But I was about to say, I think we can go back to that now because these guys are pretty calm, cool, and collective at the charity stripe.
Yeah, the North Texas game as well was 4 of 10 in a 9-point loss, and that game got away from ECU late. So those are the 2 games you kind of really would like to have back from a free throw perspective. All right, let's get a break in. When we come back, we will talk about some, the standings, the implications, speaking of words we can't say, for ECU in terms of the conference tournament. We'll break that down as well. Also just got the text from Dylan Johnson that he's going to be heading this way. So we'll get him on, new baseball play-by-play voice as well. This is Hoist the Colors.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast. Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern Living's best small town.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers in Greenville, plus the all-new Tiebreakers in Winterville. Do real burgers better than anybody. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, real burgers at its best.
Everybody loves burgers.
Play here. This is Hoist the Colors Radio with Stephen Igo. Yes, that was so good. On 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors on a Wednesday. Philip Pilkington in studio. We're talking ECU basketball. Pirates record a much-needed win over the UAB Blazers. Get to 6-6 in the league. Get to 14-11 overall. Johnny Robertson, I feel like our worlds are reversed. Johnny Robertson's in the YouTube chat. I feel like he's usually in the Facebook chat. Something's going on here. He says, how about Travion LeBeau with 2 blocks against Christian Coleman? I love watching Travion play defense and go after rebounds. He is consistently winning battles against guys that are 5 to 6 inches taller than him. You know, I like watching Travion play too. I do wish he would at least shoot a little bit. 0 shot attempts in 22 minutes last night, but that's just not his game, I guess, Philip. So he pulled down 7 rebounds, which was critical, tied for the team lead with R.J. Felton. So he's got his role, and I guess he knows it, but there's times like he's just not a threat to score. And on offense, at least it feels like, unless he's grabbing an offensive board, which he did get 3 of last night, it's almost like 4-on-5.
That's the thing. Right? You have no problem with just hustle guys. You love to have a guy on your roster where you feel like if there's a loose ball, he's going to be the first dude on the floor. But to your point, if you're playing kind of an open style offense, really any style offense, and they realize they almost don't have to guard a guy, it can be tough to score 4-on-5 sometimes. So not that I'm wanting to see him jack a bunch of threes or anything, but just have a few shot attempts on the stat sheet to say, hey, yeah, you got to stand somebody over there near him so you can't double team RJ or CJ.
So ECU, by the way, Hunter Corbett, he says he's not falling for this. He says I will start watching again if we win 4 in a row. So he needs a few more texts and dates with the X to fall back in love with Pirate basketball. The Pirates will be at Charlotte on Saturday. Now Charlotte, I guess it's a rivalry game, so throw out the records, all that stuff. I guess we could say that about this. Charlotte swept ECU last year. They were good last year. This year they are 2-10 in the conference. They're 9-16 overall. They have been playing better lately, but they're not good. They're 258 in the net. Them and Tulsa are clearly 2 of the worst teams in the league. But look, Rice is one of the worst teams in the league, and they came in and punked ECU. So I'm definitely not going to expect ECU to just go in and roll Charlotte, but that is a winnable game. Then you got Tulane on the road. That is a tough game. Tulane right now tied for 4th in the league, 7-4, 13-11 overall, but certainly not unwinnable. The schedule ahead, Philip, at Charlotte, at Tulane. Then you get 3 consecutive home games, UTSA, Charlotte, and Tulane. So you're going to see a lot of Charlotte and Tulane here back-to-back. And then you close at FAU. So none of those games are unwinnable, as I guess any game in this conference is. But you look at the standings, all of a sudden, Memphis clearing away the best team, 10-1 in the league. North Texas in second at 9-3. UAB falls to third at 8-3. And then you've got that key 4 spot. The top 4 teams get a bye, or I guess what's officially a double bye with so many teams making the league. But essentially you get a bye to the quarterfinals if you're in the top 4. FAU and Tulane are 7-4 right now. Temple is 6-5. Those 3 teams are ahead of ECU for that spot. The Pirates are 6-6. So they are a game and a half out of 4th place, and they play Tulane twice, and they play FAU in a return game in Boca. So, again, getting a little ahead of ourselves, but just saying there is a path if the Pirates continue to play well, specifically if they beat Charlotte on Saturday, where we can really start saying, all right, this team may have a shot to contend for a quarterfinals bye. And that would be a huge deal with this conference tournament being pretty wide open.
It would be, but I think the big one is going to come down to the Tulane games because Tulane has the easier schedule the rest of the way. They've still got Rice, still got Wichita State, still have Tulsa, still have Charlotte. Obviously, they have East Carolina, and then they do host UAB the final game of the season. So Tulane, not say like we said, anybody win any given day in this conference, but a lot less struggles on the schedule. Whereas you look at FAU, they still have to go to Memphis, they still have to go to South Florida. They do host North Texas, but they also go to UAB. So FAU's got it tough. FAU can come in to that final game very easily needing a win against East Carolina to be a top 4, or they could have already played themselves out of that top 4 opportunity, and that could be a spot for really 5th and 6th, depending on how other games play out. So I think the Tulane games are really, really crucial on the schedule just due to their, like I said, lack of strength of schedule down the stretch.
Yeah, I'm looking at their schedule, and it's the Tulane schedule, I should say. I mean, they have a pretty favorable schedule overall. They only play Memphis, it looks like, one time. I guess ECU is kind of in the same boat. It looks like they only play FAU one time, which they beat them at home. So they have a pretty favorable schedule for the most part. The good teams they have played in the league, they have lost to. They lost at UAB by 12. They lost at Temple. They lost to Memphis by 12. They lost at North Texas by 10. But to their credit, Tulane has beaten all the teams they should be favored against, and they beat FAU, which was a huge swing game, by 15 at home. So Tulane seems to be in a good spot there. And, realistically, ECU, they're not going to be able to catch UAB probably for the 3rd spot. And so you're going to have to find a way. Almost to sweep Tulane, I feel like, looking at the schedule, Philip. And that's going to be a tall order. It's not impossible. ECU beat Tulane pretty good last year. I want to say they split in the year prior, but should have beat Tulane in New Orleans. So I think ECU with Tulane's fast-paced kind of finesse style is actually a good matchup for Tulane. They give Tulane a lot of fits on the glass in past years. I haven't watched too much Tulane this year, but it's almost one you got to beat Charlotte, and then hate to say it, you may have to sweep Tulane to have a realistic shot at it. But I guess one game at a time mentality.
It is. And, the interesting thing, and not saying this is going to determine whether or not East Carolina wins a game, but how good is ECU? Because, like you kind of read off their losses there, they've lost to pretty much good basketball teams. Now, they did go on a little slump before league play in late November into early December, but they had a lot of roster turnover, losing Sion James, losing Jalen Cook, Jalen Forbes. Those guys all, departed after last season, whether it be to graduation or the transfer portal. So, it took them a little bit to find their footing, but to your point, they found it against teams they should find it against. So I think a lot of it does almost come down to how well East Carolina plays. Do you go out there and you look like you do last night? You're probably going to beat Tulane. You go out there and you look like you did against Rice, there's no way in hell you're going to beat Tulane. So I would say the ball's in ECU's court, no pun intended, but, I mean, it's kind of what it's going to come down to. So definitely the opportunities are there. Obviously, you got to worry about Charlotte next. But the big thing for East Carolina, do not lose any games you should not lose. And there's some games on this schedule still you should not lose them, okay? You talk about 2 Tulane games. Okay, those are tough games. Talk about FAU. It's a tough game. You can't lose to Charlotte. Can't lose to UTSA.
Bobby Howard has checked into the chat. He says, nope, not doing this again. Last time we talked about a double bye, the Pirates lost 2 in a row. Very pleased with last night's game, but taking it one game at a time from here on out. Well, what fun is that, Bobby? Sports talk radio. We've got to look to the future. But I understand. I totally get it. I will say, like I said earlier, the Charlotte game, if they win Saturday, I'll be just as impressed. I know Charlotte's bad. ECU going on the road, likely as a favorite, coming off a big win, that is a tough spot. And I would expect, Philip was saying earlier off the air, that Charlotte will get up for that game. It should be a good crowd, in-state game. So ECU is going to have to play well Saturday to win. In case you're unaware, the American tournament consists of all 14 teams. It is scheduled to take place in Fort Worth, Texas. How it works is the worst 4 teams play in the playing game, even though it's not really a playing game. It's the first round is what it's called. But you'll have 12 versus 13, 11 versus 14, and then on the second day you'll have seeds 8, 9, 7, and 10 play along with the 5th and 6th seed who will play the winners of those respective first-round games. So if you finish in the top 10, you technically get a bye, although I'm not willing to call it a bye unless you're in the quarterfinals. I know it will be called a bye, Philip, but I'm not. You got to finish at least in the top 4 to get a true bye in my book.
Yeah, I mean, when more teams get a bye than don't, that makes the first games play-in games, right? You're playing into a 12-team tournament. You can say they're in it, and they technically are, but, yeah, less teams get a bye than do not get a bye is how I view it. So I'm going to go with that. 4 teams get a bye. 4 teams have play-in games. 6 teams 5 through 10, just they're there. They're where they're supposed to be is how I view it.
The situation with this tournament is I feel like we've now seen East Carolina, and this is why I'm intrigued. Look, I mean, the win last night was good, but it's not like you're going to go to the NIT because you beat UAB. So at this point, you're basically playing to improve your overall resume for the regular season, to have a winning season, which ECU has not done in a long time, to maybe have the most conference wins ECU has had in the American. But for me, it's about putting yourself in the situation to succeed in the tournament. We've always said one run in the American Athletic Conference tournament, winning the title, being on Selection Sunday would do wonders for this program. So for me, I'm looking at that. How does ECU put itself in that position? We talked about the bye, but there's not a team in this league that I feel like ECU can't beat. Memphis, of course, is going to be tough. They've won 7 in a row. They're ranked for a reason. They're going to be the clear favorite to win the conference. But if you look at the past number of years with this tournament, there are several upsets. Last year, UAB was the 4 seed. They beat the 11 seed Temple in the championship game. So for me, ECU, get into the dance, get some favorable matchups, and with CJ playing how he is, with RJ playing how he is, and with Jordan Riley, you have 3 of the best players in the league. You can win 4 games in 4 days. Is it going to be easy? Definitely not. ECU's never gotten to that point in the American, but I'm just saying this year it feels possible, although you just want to set yourself up for as advantageous of a situation as you can to make it realistic.
Look at you using another big word. You beat me 2-1 on big words today.
Hey, the 2 is a lot for one day.
Yeah. One of the things, too, that a little bit worries me about 4 in 4 days is you pretty much have a 7-man rotation. Yeah, Reed Cason's getting you some minutes here and there, but for the better part, it's 7. So, therefore, 3 games in 3 days sounds a lot better to me than 4 games in 4 days. So, let's put in some work. Let's get that 4 seed. And not saying I don't feel good if you're, in that 5, 6, 7 range. The one nice thing is if you're 6 or 7, you would avoid Memphis until the championship game, which would be nice. But, let's just go ahead and get the 4. Let's win. Let's beat Memphis in the semifinals and then beat the winner of North Texas and UAB.
There you go. There is the path to the conference championship. Never too early to look ahead. And there is your talk. And I agree. Double bye. Let's make it happen. Or just the regular bye, however you want to phrase it. Pirates have a shot to get there, but, of course, need to win at Charlotte in a tough game this Saturday. All right, let's get a break in. We'll come back. We're scheduled to be joined by Dylan Johnson, new ECU baseball play-by-play announcer. We'll introduce you to him, tell you about his story and more. This is Hoist the Colors on a Wednesday.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Looking for a great deal on a new Nissan?
At Greenville Nissan, we've got a great selection of new Nissans for under $30,000.
The stylish Nissan Sentra, offering top-notch fuel economy. The Nissan Altima, known for its comfort and technology.
The Nissan Kicks, the perfect combination with its compact design and performance. The Nissan Versa, delivering incredible value without compromising on features. And don't forget the Nissan Rogue, an award winner for 10 years in a row. Drive it home just for $22 down and $349 a month.
Visit GreenvilleNissan.com today.
Greenville Nissan, where we drive to serve.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's cut in color. And let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Pirate fans, 2025 East Carolina football season tickets are on sale now and can be purchased for as little as $115. Head coach Blake Harrell wants you to be a part of his first full season as the Pirate coach as he builds momentum off of the 8-win season and the Military Bowl win over North Carolina State. Call 1-800-DIAL-ECU or go to ECUPirates.com today to get your 2025 season tickets.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Here there be pirates. Back to Hoist the Colors with Steve and I go. How good is this on 94.3 The Game?
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors. Wednesday, February 12th. We're 2 days away from opening day inside Clark LeClaire Stadium. Pirates will take on George Mason. Scheduled for 4 o'clock first pitch. We'll see what the weather does, if there's any changes to the schedule for the weekend slate. All right, we've talked a lot of basketball. Let's talk some more baseball with our in-studio guest. Pirate fans will be hearing a lot from him this season on the 94.3 The Game airwaves. He is Dylan Johnson, new play-by-play voice for ECU Baseball. Dylan, how's it going, man?
It's good. Thanks for having me here, Steven.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Dylan Johnson, who's Dylan Johnson? The people want to know. So give us kind of your background. What you can go as deep or as little in depth as you want to, but what kind of led you to this moment as far as being the play-by-play voice for ECU?
Well, Dylan Johnson is nobody important, so let's establish that off the bat here. But no, I'm not born, but raised here. Grew up around the area. Went to Wintergreen, Hope, Conley, all that good deal. And kind of the typical story of getting into communication and media of I loved sports. Sports was my passion. That was kind of what my world revolved around. And very early on, you could figure out that you're not going to be a professional athlete or a collegiate athlete. And so you got to figure out other ways to stay in the game. And naturally in school, I was just always good at writing, speaking to groups. And so that's kind of what led me down this path. And went to ECU, got a communication degree for my undergrad, and then went to Syracuse for grad school, broadcasting master's from Syracuse.
So I've always heard Syracuse, I want to say Ariel Epstein, now doing her thing in the sports betting world. She used to work at WCTI. She went to Syracuse, always bragged about how good the school was there. So how was that experience? I've always heard it's like kind of the school for journalism, broadcast, et cetera.
That's the standard there, and there is an impressive and intimidating alumni network out there that you could close your eyes and just kind of pick a team out of a hat, collegiate or pro, and there's a decent chance that they're from there. And it kind of sets the standard, I think. You have professors there who all are interested in upholding the reputation that the school has, and so they teach what the best of the best do, and they kind of expect you to do that. And I can tell from experience, too, when you're learning up there and they do not beat around the bush. They'll tell you how it is.
So how did you end up getting linked up with this job? Was there any connection, or obviously going to ECU and being an ECU guy, I'm sure played a big role, but getting this job, and do you see it as kind of a dream job of sorts?
Absolutely, I do. And it kind of worked out with the right timing, I think. Once finding out that Scooter was taking a new job and leaving, and he did such a good job with it. And then Bryant Packard, actually, who's been like practically a brother of mine since we were in middle school, and he kind of reached out and connected me with Cliff, and we had a couple conversations, and then spoke with Clay Walker, the general manager for Playfly here at ECU, and it all kind of came into place from there.
So you've got another job as well, obviously in the real world. So how are you going to try and balance that with this? Because I assume you're going to be the full-time guy going to most of the road games as well.
That's the plan. Yeah, to do every single game, and because like I said, it's a dream job kind of stuff, and so I want to be there for every game along the way. In the real world, I do work at Heister Yale here in Greenville, and they've been thankfully very supportive of the entire thing. We cleared it with them before any conversations really took place, because Heister Yale also sponsors with ECU Athletics.
Right.
So they nobody wanted to step on any toes, and we made sure, and they were like all about it. No, we think it's great. We value our partnership with ECU and think it's a good step to move in that direction. So they've been really supportive of it. We've been mapping out how exactly I'm going to manage my paid time off to get through some of the travel of the schedule, but we've got a hold on it, and we're ready to go.
Well, that's good that they're willing to work with you and support you. That means a lot, I'm sure. So, all right. So your past experience or any, I don't know, what can you point to as far as like what should Pirate fans expect from your style, or is that just something that's going to have to, as a play-by-play announcer, develop over time? Because like, I don't know, to me, being in broadcast, I've never done play-by-play, but there is an art form to it, and does it just develop naturally? How do you think that aspect of it is going to go?
I think it does. I think specifically in this role, it'll develop over the course of the season as I get more comfortable too. Just like, Pirate Nation, we know we got a very new team a lot of ways this year, and so I, right alongside with them, will be getting more comfortable as we go along. I think that for anybody who knows me, or it's not very hard to tell, I'm a very laid-back, easygoing guy, and I kind of keep it, to a certain level here. So I think that that's a lot of what you can expect out of me too. On the air this season, I'm very passionate about the Pirates as well, being connected to the university in a lot of ways. So I'm interested in the success of this team as well, and believe in Cliff's mission and how he runs his program. And so I think that'll come out on the air too. I think that goes a lot into it as well. There's some interesting about different approaches as a broadcaster when you are the person in a collegiate setting like this, where you're following the team the entire season, you're there the whole way, and you kind of get to be a part of the team, a part of the community, as opposed to people who just kind of do games. They're at a different school every week, which is just a different approach.
Yeah, we were talking with Darren Vaught yesterday, and going on those road trips, which you'll be able to go on with the team, like, that's when, to me, like as a reporter, when we go to cover a bowl game or go to cover a road game for football, and you really connect with some of the guys, that's kind of special. So that'll grow organically. Are you looking forward to that aspect where you get to know the coaches and some of the players, like off the field more so than just in the batter's box, so to speak?
Absolutely. I think that the road trips could definitely be some of the best parts this season that I'm looking forward to. Just like you said, getting to spend time with a lot of these guys, and I've got some familiarity with the coaching staff as it is, so that helps a lot. But just getting to know these players off the field, I'm interested and invested in telling their story, and I want to tell it right. And so it's not just what happens on the field, but as we know, especially with this program, as much or more than any other program in college athletics, it's about the people who they are off the field as well.
All right, Bobby says, do you have a play-by-play guy you idolize / look up to? Maybe the same guy, but is there a play-by-play guy or voice you try to model your call after? So I don't know if you got anybody in mind for those questions.
That's a good question. I spent a lot of time for my own personal fandoms. I was born in Illinois, so I watch a lot of the Bulls. So Adam Amin is a guy who, at least on the TV side, is somebody who I think is fantastic. Radio, I think, other than I did, of course, along with all of us, listen to Jeff Charles a whole lot, and he was one of the best at what he did. From a national standpoint, Kevin Harlan is, to me, is the gold standard with just the energy he brings, the inflection, choosing what times to use his voice in a certain way, and then his description, just the fact that he can turn a regular advertisement read into something that is entertaining is impressive.
No doubt. Kevin Harlan, to me, the GOAT, at least of our era, it feels like. I almost prefer listening to him on radio more so than watching it on TV because he's that good. But Dylan Johnson with us, new play-by-play voice, ECU baseball. Ryan Cole, he says, as a Pirate fan currently living in Syracuse, he says, what is your favorite restaurant in Cuse? I'd much rather be down in North Carolina, though. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm a huge pizza guy. I eat pizza more than anything else. So Varsity Pizza there in Syracuse was the go-to a lot. Plus, it's just as a sports fan, the kind of atmosphere in there is the place to go. I could not relate more to anything than saying you wanted to be back in Carolina. I am very thankful that grad program there was 1 year. I think that was a big selling point, too. I went through one Syracuse winter, and I was like, I cannot wait to be back in North Carolina.
Yeah, the weather a little different, although right now it feels like Syracuse weather with as cold and ugly as it is outside. Dylan Johnson with us here in studio. So a couple of days away from first pitch. I don't know, are you nervous, excited? Like, how do you describe kind of your emotions to get behind the mic and call your first game? Also with Coach O, like how's that going to feel?
Yeah, and Coach O, so far from what I've met him, and he's just the nicest guy in the world. And is going to be really supportive and helpful for me this year. I think a little bit of both, excited and a little anxious about it. And I think it's just anxious from the point of that I care about this, and I know from living here for so long how much the community and the fans care about it. And so it's more so nervous in the way that you want to do it right and you want to do it justice because it's important to a lot of people.
So, look, Pirate Nation, they can be passionate. I don't know if you talked to Scooter or Scott Rogers, but like when he first started, he got some criticism. Mm-hmm. And then I think as fans, they'll understand there'll be growing pains. Like when I first started on this show or as a writer, I'm sure I made a ton of errors and I probably got criticized. So are you going to try to ignore any of that stuff, or I don't know, how do you handle that there'll probably be some people who, may not like your style to begin with, but they'll probably come to grow, to like it over time.
Yeah. I think I've definitely been told so far to be very selective about what sources you turn to for feedback and, which people have the right knowledge to give you there. So it's kind of keeping that with a grain of salt, when you're the voice of a program, so to speak. There will be times where people will want to, let me know what they think about either how I'm doing or how the team is doing, and I welcome that, and I'm all for that. So that's just on me to keep it with a grain of salt of terms of if it's coming from the coaching staff, that's one thing completely different from if it's coming from a fan in terms of, hey, we like how you're doing this or we don't like how you're doing that. So like I said, I, along with this team, will be growing a lot this year, first year in the role. So I think we're all going to be hitting our stride, hopefully, here come April and May.
No doubt. He is Dylan Johnson. I'll tell you what, we'll get a break in. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show. If you're down to hang out for a few more minutes, you good for that? Awesome. We'll do that. Dylan Johnson in the studio. We'll wrap it up. Final segment after this.
Ready to go for big savings? You've got the green light at Greenville Toyota with the new Corolla just $239 a month or new Tacoma only $349 a month. The green light savings event is on right now at Greenville Toyota.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Everybody loves Tiebreakers.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout Eastern North Carolina. You get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
Hey, grab me one too.
Your roof is a vital part of protecting your home and family from dangerous storms and hurricanes. At Assist Roofing, we install and maintain metal roofing that provides precise protection. Add value to your home while lowering utility costs with a fortified roof to last a lifetime. With 0% financing, grants, and Energy Star Green Roofing tax credit available. Call us to schedule a free consultation so you can weather any storm with confidence.
Green is what you'll save during our Greenlight Savings event at Greenville Toyota. Get a new Camry, $269 a month, or a new RAV4, $339 a month. When the green light is on, you save big at Greenville Toyota.
Back to Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo.
Drink up me hearties, yo-ho.
On 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Final segment here. We got about 4 minutes left. We've talked a lot of Pirate basketball. We got to talk a lot of Pirate baseball tomorrow, Phil. We got to do the entire roster rundown tomorrow, but
yeah,
we'll get it done.
We might just have to. We don't have a guest tomorrow, so I think it might work out. I think it's gonna be the first half of the show.
Yeah, we'll find a way to knock it out. All right, Dylan Johnson's in studio. He's the new play-by-play voice, ECU baseball. Season opens on Friday. Scheduled to open Friday against George Mason. All right, Dylan. So we got a few minutes left. Look, I've been out to a number of scrimmages just to try to get a gauge for this team. And so I know you stepping into this role. I kind of had a good time. Where like there's so much newness, why not have a new play-by-play announcer too? And so, what's kind of as you go into this weekend, like what are some of the main storylines you're really looking forward to seeing how it plays out once the games actually begin?
I just think there's a lot of opportunity with this team. That comes on one side of the newness. There is that there's a lot of talent on this roster, and so there's some players here who, we're coming out of a period where we had a lot of stalwarts, guys who were here, and fans knew them very well, and they were productive for a few years. I think with this team, you've got guys who are going to be those next guys. We just don't know it yet. But I think that that's an exciting thing to kind of have a new cycle beginning, and there's a lot of players that fans are going to come to love. They're going to be here for 3-4 years, and they're going to have a lot of really good games and a lot of great memories as Pirates. And so that's something to me that I'm really looking forward to this year.
So you're a Conley guy. I'm a Conley guy. Dixon Williams is the Conley guy. You expecting a pretty big year out of Dixon?
Yeah, I think that Dixon's really confident, really sure of himself now after having a really good year last year, having a really good summer after that, and he's been in the program now. I think he's kind of stepping up as a leader as well from what I've seen. With a lot of the older guys that they lost after last season. So I think that Dixon's going to have a really good year this year. And, he's got a good guy to learn from there, and Packard on the staff who kind of was in those shoes too of a homegrown guy and kind of stand for the hometown team.
So you were meeting with some of the coaches this morning, just kind of get a roster rundown, get a better feel for kind of how things may play out. How are those meetings and how receptive have those guys been?
Coaching staff's been awesome so far. I mean, anything you need, they've got it, and they're there for you. And so those were kind of just from a perspective of just in a way, just like you. I mean, I'm here to tell the story of all these guys, and I want to tell them correctly, and I want to do it justice. And so, the more time that I can spend with the coaching staff, and as the season goes on, the more time I can spend with players, the more that I'm able to tell those stories correctly and kind of give more of the information than what is just publicly available that everybody already knows. But I kind of want to really get to know these guys. And so far, the coaching staff has been there for everything I need.
All right, again, opening day this Friday. Dylan Johnson with us. All right, we got about a minute left. So we know you're an ECU guy. What about, professional sports? Are you do you have a favorite team you follow or anything? Any of the big pro sports?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I was born in Illinois. Yeah. So for better or worse, it's Chicago teams.
Okay.
Bulls and Bears, and they put me through a lot every year.
kind of tough these days, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was born too, which a lot of your audience might hate me for saying it, but I was born right at the end of Jordan's run, so missed all the good years for that. Thought I had something with Derrick Rose here a while ago, and then fate had a different thought for that. So I stick through it year after year, no matter how many of my friends and family and in-laws tell me that their teams are better and I need to jump to their bandwagons.
What about baseball? Are you a Cubs guy or White Sox? Or?
So my family's split on that,
Yeah.
and so actually we're St. Louis Cardinals fans, which makes no sense. I just inherited that from my parents. I think it helped a lot that they were a very successful winning franchise for a lot of years when the Cubs weren't, and so that's what I've been. I idolized Albert Pujols growing up and Yadier Molina and those guys.
Alec Burleson these days, right?
Alec Burleson, pretty cool. Yeah, whenever he's around too, and I get to know his favorite team, hometown guy. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Alex, I think in line for a big year. Closed last year really strong as well. Well, hopefully Caleb Williams can figure it out this year with Ben Johnson. So I think y'all got a shot.
I'm holding my breath. Holding my breath.
All right, well, he's Dylan Johnson. Dylan, great to meet you, man. We'll plan to get you in studio a few more times, obviously, and hopefully a lot this season, man. But thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. That's Dylan Johnson. We're out of time for our show. Appreciate Philip Pilkington behind the glass, getting things worked out, and especially our Facebook stream. He works hard on that more than anything. So we'll try to get our X stream going as well for our coming shows. We're looking at that. We'll be back tomorrow, 12 noon. ECU baseball roster rundown continues as we count you down to opening day. See you then.
This has been